let's just jump right into it. Today's title is Free Speech Advocate or Jew Hater. Someone left a comment on my last live video, and the comment really stuck out to me. The comment said that you sound like you don't like Jewish people. And then I replied to them and I said, well, how do I sound when I talk about Black people? Keep in mind, this person has never said I sound like I dislike Black people. And we can all agree that I go in on Black people the hardest. But the reason why the person feels this way is because of propaganda. And the propaganda is that you have to agree with everything that is Jewish or Israel. Anything you don't agree with automatically makes you anti-Semitic. And that's what I disagree with. We should be allowed to criticize and critique anything and anybody. There's a difference between the person spewing hatred versus a person legitimately criticizing and critiquing and even offering solutions. But this is a part of the programming and the propaganda. And again, I don't have a problem with any group of people. And I'm critical of everybody in the world, not just Blacks, not just Jews, not just Hispanics, not just liberals, not even myself. So everybody can get the smoke. And to me, why wouldn't you want to be in a world where people have impartial views, where people are unbiased? So I don't know. Anyway, let's jump right into it. And this is a guy's name is Costello, but I have the name in the title.
Against the state government of Israel. You are not going to believe some of the things that I have for you here from Mark Levin, Senator Lindsey Graham, and Brandon Tatum, and the things that they had to say about anyone who does not support the state of Israel. This is truly alarming. And this comes on the heels of Ben Shapiro committing his entire show segment to address Nick Fuentes and the problems that he has caused on the right. We'll start there. Before we do, though, guys, make sure to subscribe to join me in this God First movement. We are fighting for one nation under God here, and what I am giving you are the top issues of the day in 10 to 20 minutes from a God First perspective.
His name is Zach Costello. I'm sorry, it's Zach Costello.
Not from a partisan perspective, but from an independent, common sense, God First perspective. We are not political shills. We care about remaining in truth and are on the path toward who God made us to be. All right, now let's get into it. I'm Zach Costello. So Ben Shapiro put together an entire show to address the Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson interview and the fallout. Ben, of course, shared all of the controversial things that Nick Fuentes had said over the years, concluding that this is someone that the right should never accept when it comes to political discourse and ideas. Regardless of what you think of Fuentes or Shapiro, it is what Ben says here about free speech and cancellation that is most alarming, especially because of what just happened over the weekend at the Republican Jewish Coalition. Here's Ben, and then I'll show you what happened.
Hey, folks, I want to do something different on today's show. We're going to cover one topic in depth. That topic is, I think, the most important thing happening in the country. It was a hot topic last week, but I wanted to take some time to really gather my thoughts and speak on it in coherent fashion, holistic fashion. That topic is the fragmentation of the political right. That fragmentation is being caused purposefully by a splinter faction of people led by a young man named Nick Fuentes. They call themselves the Groypers. They are white supremacists. They hate women, Jews, Hindus, many types of Christians, brown people of a wide variety of backgrounds, blacks, America's foreign policy, and America's Constitution. They admire Hitler and Stalin. And that splinter faction is now being facilitated and normalized within the mainstream Republican Party. The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson, who is an intellectual coward, a dishonest interlocutor, and a terrible friend. And Tucker Carlson last week was aided, abetted, celebrated for normalizing Nazism within the Republican Party by the mainstay organization of the traditional right, the Heritage Foundation. Now, before we explain what's been happening, let's make one thing clear. This is not about free speech or cancellation. It was never about free speech or cancellation. Free speech has a definition: the right to speak free of governmental coercion. I believe in it, of course. I've always defended it. Criticism of bad speech is, in fact, just a form of free speech. Cancellation also has a definition: the banning of particular people, including people like Nick Fuentes, from platforms like X or Facebook. I believe that Nick Fuentes is odious and despicable, but I've never called for his cancellation. And in fact, I've called for his restoration to those services, despite the fact that I think he's odious and despicable. It is not cancellation to draw moral lines between viewpoints. In fact, we used to call that one of the key aspects of conservatism. It is not cancellation to refuse to signal boost Hitler's supporters like Nick Fuentes. It is not cancellation to criticize Tucker Carlson for rhetorically fluffing Nick Fuentes and other anti-American crackpots.
Now, what I find interesting about what he's saying is you can go back to the 50s and 60s, and people would interview all types of people, whether they agree with them or not. People would interview people with extreme views, people that were quote unquote racist, people that were anti-Semitic, people that were just, they would get an interview. Like it wasn't taboo to interview a controversial figure in our society. It wasn't controversial to interview a person that had radical views back then, but now it's controversial to do it because of why? Social media. It's social media, because back in the day, nobody really cared. If you go back on YouTube, just go to YouTube and just look up all these interviews and look and see who got interviewed. Look at the people, look at the type of people that got interviewed back then that would be canceled today, that would have no platforms, and they were on mainstream media being interviewed. So in my opinion, the issue here isn't Nick Fuentes' views, Candace Owens' views, or Tucker Carlson's views. It's their influence. There are people online that are way more radical than Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. There are people that articulate their points way better than Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, and maybe even Nick Fuentes in some cases. But it isn't what they're saying. It's the fact that they have influence. It's their influence. And again, if Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes, if they're able to destroy the right, then the right was a false premise in the first place. If they have the power to destroy the right, then what was the right from the beginning? That means the right was weak, always on a shaky foundation. The right was always on a shaky foundation. If three folks can come out, three folks who don't necessarily agree with each other, three folks who don't necessarily agree with each other on all the issues. This isn't a united front. These are three people that are able to destroy the conservative movement, the conservative party, and Republicans. Come on, man. Come on. I'm not buying that. It's their influence. And at the core of this issue, it's really just disagreeing with what the Israeli government is doing. That's the basis of it. That's it. That is the main basis of all of this. And to me, it's an all or nothing thing. It's either you agree or you hate them. To me, that is bad. I don't agree with that. I don't agree. A broken clock is right twice a day. That doesn't mean it's going to give you accurate time. It's because I agree with one thing a person says doesn't mean I agree with who the entire person is. Or if I disagree with something the person says, doesn't mean I disagree with the entire person.
It's not cancellation if you urge others to stop promoting those who rhetorically fluff Nazi apologists. Those are all elements of free speech. And anyone who says differently is lying to you, and lying for the most cynical reasons, to misdirect from their own defense of those Nazi apologists and their promoters.
Now, I agree with Ben Shapiro here that you should be able to criticize and tell, like, I don't have a problem with free speech at all. I don't have a problem saying y'all shouldn't put Nick Fuentes on your show. And I don't have a problem with somebody saying put Nick Fuentes on the show. That's not the issue here. The issue here is this campaign where you're deliberately going into what you call a free market, but it's not. If social media companies are beholden to the government, it's not free market then. So we saw this back in the Biden administration. You can't go to these companies that have a history of being compromised through the government and say, we want you to not do this. That's wrong. That's wrong. Now, you may be, now legally, you probably be able to do it, but morally, in my opinion, it's wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong for you to go to jail. I'm saying that it's wrong from the sense that you know that you have power and influence with these companies, and you know these companies aren't biased. Aren't unbiased. I don't have a problem with anybody critiquing what somebody is saying, but I have a problem with taking over media companies to do it. That's my issue. You're saying we're going to buy these platforms. That's my issue. When the platform was compromised from the jump. So you mean to tell me the platforms were compromised, then they said we're not going to be compromised, and then you say, okay, you're not going to be compromised, we're going to take you over and make you compromise again. What are we talking about? It's crazy. It's ridiculous. I'm not saying it's wrong in the sense you should go to prison for it. I'm saying it's morally wrong. And it is an attack on free speech. Because when you say in the marketplace or the free ideas, it's not true. It's not true. If somebody can come in and make you change your stance, or meaning if somebody can come in and make you say, okay, we're not going to do this because they said this. It's not a free market then. Because the public isn't dictating that. Powers with influence are dictating that, not the public. The market is the people, not individuals that control everything. Now, I'm not talking about Jews. I'm talking about individuals, period. They control everything. That ain't the market. The market is the people. Anyway, let's go.
The issue here isn't that Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his show last week. He has every right to do that, of course. The issue here is that Tucker Carlson decided to normalize and fluff Nick Fuentes, and that the Heritage Foundation then decided to robustly defend that performance. Those who criticize both Tucker and Heritage aren't canceling. They are quite properly drawing a moral line.
Okay, the back and forth argument about good and bad ideas is the mechanism of free speech. No person, regardless of how good or bad their ideas are, should be silenced by the state or any town square platform like social media companies. The problem is that isn't what they want. Is what Ben Shapiro just said here consistent with what Mark Levin said here at the Republican Jewish Coalition? Watch.
What do you mean we don't cancel people? We canceled David Duke. Donald Trump canceled David Duke. We canceled Pat Buchanan. We canceled the John Birch Society. We canceled Joseph Sobran. We canceled pornography on TV. We cancel stuff all the damn time. Hitler admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters, American haters, Churchill haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them. It's called the market system. They don't have a lifetime job like a bureaucrat who we're going to protect. And if they're your friend, there's something wrong with you. No Hitler admirer, Holocaust denier, platformer should be anybody's friend, as a matter of fact. You don't get to wrap your psychotic, mental, unhinged, Nazi, Klan, jihadist bullshit around American patriotism. You don't get to claim you're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. That's not America first. That's sick.
So what do you think he means here when he says you don't get to? Who determines this? You see, this is anti-free speech. He continues here by threatening anyone anti-Israel.
And I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me, and you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is, not if I and everybody else have something to say about it.
Yeah, so again, Costello asked a good question. Who is going to determine? If when he says you don't get to, who is determining this? What unbiased party of individuals is determining who can say this and who can do that? At the end of the day, people should be able to interview who they want to interview. Tucker Carlson doesn't agree with and this is the funny thing, these people didn't even watch the interview. The irony of this is they didn't even watch the interview. And people are being very intellectually dishonest when we talk about this issue because Nick Fuentes is a character. Now, I'm not saying that he's an idiot, but he's a character. So when he's in public, so to speak, he's on his best behavior. He's articulating points and very articulate, great communicator. So he's very toned down when he's in public, but when he's on his show, he's out of control. But again, he's still a character though. And so all this puffing your chest out and talking big about what you're going to do, if you left everything alone, you would lose. So don't get on your soapbox talking about what you're not going to allow and all this stuff like these people aren't a quote unquote threat to you. Like if you left everything alone, you would win, you wouldn't. So just because Candace Owens interviewed Nick Fuentes, she was pushing back on him the entire interview. Y'all didn't embrace Candace Owens. Y'all didn't say she platformed a Nazi. Think about that. When Candace Owens interviewed Nick Fuentes, there was none of this rhetoric. And she pushed back more on him than Tucker Carlson did. So why is it more rhetoric now with Tucker Carlson? Why? Because it's propaganda. They're telling you. People throw out ideas and you just latch on to them like they're true. But again, nobody's even watched the interview between Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. And they keep calling Tucker Carlson anti-Semitic, but they can't ever tell you what he said is anti-Semitic. He's just throwing it out there. So when I'm talking, you hate black people, just throw it out there. And folks believe it because of what's said, not that it's true. Anti-Semitic, people just believe it because it's just said. So again, who's going to be the governing body to determine what's anti-Semitic, what's racism, what's transphobic? Who determines that? What unbiased body of individuals with no biases is able to determine what's this and what's that? We don't have it. That's why I keep telling you all, it's all or nothing. Nobody's going to go through this stuff with a fine-tooth comb. It's all or nothing. Either you support everything or you're against everything.
So you see, you don't conform to Mark Levin's worldview, and you don't get to have a podcast or a voice. Any of you up and coming, like Mark Levin was back when he was getting started, you don't get to. You don't get to. You don't get to share your ideas. Even more, according to Lindsey Graham, this disqualifies you from Republican politics altogether.
We will meet you on the battlefield of political discourse, and we will beat you politically. I want the world to know anti-Semitism, anti-Israel rhetoric, anti-Israel thought is not the road to being elected as a Republican. You will lose. So now we got that out of the way.
Well, I actually agree with this, though. If you're willing to fight politically, then I agree. I mean, I agree with the fair fight. I do. So I don't actually mind what he said. If we're gonna meet on the battlefield of politics, then I actually agree with what he just said. I do.
These individuals are threatening to use their political and social power to suppress free speech and prevent anyone from becoming their opponent. I don't care what ideas Nick Fuentes or Tucker Carlson have. Leveraging political influence to censor them is wrong. Every single time, no matter who does it. I don't agree that boys can turn into girls, but if someone believes in that, they have the right to claim it and argue for it, and we hash it out in the universe of free ideas. This is how we get to and determine the truth. These men do not get to gatekeep discourse. Now, here is Brandon Tatum.
Well, I guess I don't know if he took it like that. I took it as him saying that we can battle politically, as far as like political debates and all of that stuff. I mean, that's what I was taking from it, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he meant using political power to silence people.
Telling us that there's no asking questions anymore. They are apparently done with that.
The reality is that Israel is one of our greatest allies. And for people to think otherwise, you fall in one of two categories. You're either ignorant or you simply hate Jews.
You see that? That's called a false dichotomy. So you're saying either I'm ignorant or I hate Jewish people. Those are the only two options. Those are the only. So then think about this now. Either I'm ignorant or I hate Jewish people, but you're going to prove that I'm not ignorant. You see how that works? So the goal is going to be to prove I'm not ignorant to make me I just hate Jews. This is what he just said. You either are ignorant or you hate Jews, but you don't really think I'm ignorant. How do we know this? Watch what he says.
Quit lying to yourself. Quit trying to cover. You just hate Jews. Just say it. I don't want to hear I'm just asking questions no more. You're not just asking questions. Asking questions means you do your research first before you put something out into the atmosphere.
Since when has that been the standard? Since when has that been the standard of asking questions? Since when? Since when has a person had to go and research, study, just to ask a question? That has never been a standard. Do you see what's happening here? Am I the only one that sees this? Do you see what's happening here? This man just said you need to go and research before you ask a question. As if I can't observe and ask a question. In other words, be quiet. Remember during COVID, they said, do your own research. Not what they meant. It's not what they meant. They meant be quiet. Do your own research was code word for be quiet. And it's the same thing now. It's just the right doing it. The left was saying, do your own research. Brandon Tatum said, do your own research. It was the left then and it's the right now. And I've been saying this. They're talking about the woke right. This is the woke right. This is. I don't want you to be able to talk. That's the woke right.
It's not asking questions to make accusations. If you somehow think the Jews run the world, you are a fool.
This, of course, has to spin back to Charlie Kirk, because everything does right now. Now, there's a video going viral of him this morning on the heels of all of this at the Republican Jewish Coalition, because he said this. Watch.
I'm going to continue to ask the question, a 20-hour response in a country the size of New Jersey. That begs a big explanation. And more importantly, America is significantly underwriting the Israeli government $4 billion a year. We as American taxpayers deserve answers to this. We deserve answers. Also, if we're going to get into a regional or world war based on an intel failure, so, I mean, we pay for this. What are we buying, right? I got smeared as a Jew hater, an anti-Semite, and conspiracy theorist because I said exactly what I just said. And I refused to back down despite all the smears thrown at me, because I learned during COVID. I learned when they told us that it came from a bat in the Himalayas. I learned when they told us the vaccine was safe and effective. I learned when they told us that ivermectin was horse paste, that you better keep asking questions because it's the only thing that keeps us free. Thank you so much.
So, again, you heard what Charlie Kirk. Now keep in mind, the consensus is that Charlie Kirk loved Israel. So that means those statements that he just made doesn't disqualify him from being a supporter of Israel. So why would those statements disqualify me? If I agree with Charlie Kirk and it is said that he loved Israel, everybody is saying this. Everybody's saying that Charlie Kirk loved Israel. Everybody's going to bat for Charlie Kirk being a lover of Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu's said it. Charlie Kirk wrote the love letter to him, all of this stuff. So if those statements that Charlie Kirk just made don't qualify him from having love from Israel, then why do those same comments that I would make me a hater of Jewish people or anti-Semitic? You don't have an answer because you know it's ridiculous. It is a gross contradiction. And this is why you can't censor free speech, because it's not going to be consistent. That's why. Because the folks that want to do it have ulterior motives. What Charlie Kirk just said would be called anti-Semitic if I said it. But him saying it doesn't disqualify him from being a supporter of Israel and Jewish people. Even to this point where his wife said he recognized the Sabbath. Let's continue.
Funny thing is, Charlie said this, and look at what Israeli propaganda got caught doing over the weekend. They issued this report that Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, will be posthumously honored at Israel's 2025 Christian Media Summit in recognition of his courageous stand for truth and steadfast support of Israel. They reported that Erica Kirk will accept the award on behalf of her husband, writing that this is a moving tribute to a man who inspired millions to stand with Israel when it mattered the most. Yeah, so the problem is, as you can see in these community notes, it's false. Andrew Colvett, executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, spokesman for Turning Point USA, published that no, this is the first that they've heard of this, and they reached out to the reporter at the Jerusalem Post for correction. That didn't stop Brandon Tatum, though, our boy, from reposting it and shaming someone about it. Whoops. Look, Christian Americans of good faith are sick.
I'm going to go back to this real quick. For your information, his wife knew him better than you. You think you know him from a leaked text. All of his close friends maintained that he loved Israel. He literally wrote to BB, and the night before he was killed, he was studying how to best defend Zionism on campus with Josh. So again, like my point, thank you, Brandon Tatum, for reiterating it, that Charlie Kirk's criticisms of Israel did not disqualify him from being a lover of Israel and Jewish people. So if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. That means if Charlie Kirk can be critical, but still get the label of he loved Israel and loved Jewish people, then if I have some criticisms, I should get the label of I don't hate or dislike Israel or Jewish people. It should go the same way. Matter of fact, if I make the same critiques that Charlie Kirk did, y'all should say I love Israel too.
Christian Americans of good faith are sick and tired of Zionists, whether Christian or Jew, calling us fools, not Christian or evil, simply because we are skeptical of blind support of the nation state of Israel and question the unequal weight of influence that Israel has on the American government and media. We are sick of being morally blackmailed, being told that we'll be deplatformed and canceled for even uttering a word against the nation state of Israel, questioning their motives, or now apparently being told that this disqualifies us from Republican politics if we ever waver on this issue. You can be neither here nor there when it comes to the issue of Israel as a strategic ally for America. You can be either here nor there on Fuentes. I think some of his ideas are good. I think some are bad, not so good, proven historically to be bad. But the coordinated authoritarian crackdown for dissent, this is a major red flag, and it is unacceptable. Funny, they say they'll not stand for anti-Israel point of view while adopting anti-American, anti-First Amendment views. They are turning their backs on American values and freedoms in favor of a foreign nation. Guys, subscribe to remain in truth and on the path toward who God made us to be. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm Zach Costello.
Yes, that was Zach Costello. And I got one more video. But what he just said is that a person should be allowed to disagree without being have all of these authoritative authoritative entities trying to take them out of the game completely. And again, there are many people online with all kinds of views. That the threat is from the influence. And again, the reason why the Republican Party is so fragile is because how they are behaving. The same way the left imploded, it's going to happen to the Republican Party because of how they're behaving. Because the Republican side is supposed to be the side that's sane. I'm going to show you right here. Watch this.
Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. Multiple speakers have talked about the rise of anti-Semitism on the right. But it is not enough to speak in platitudes or generalities about the fight.
Look at this. They got signs at the Jewish Republican Convention. I think that's what it's called. They got signs like this is what the left does. This is what liberals do. Holding up signs, Tucker is not MAGA. No more kings. Like this is why the party is fragile. This is why. This is why they think and 3 individuals can destroy it. This is why they think that 3 individuals can destroy it. The unholy trinity of social media, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and Nick Fuentes, they can destroy the quote unquote right Republicans and conservatives. And this is why, because stuff like this. This is what the left does.
We must call evil by its name. 5 years ago, if I was talking to my father, who's watching, hi Dad, if I was talking to my father at 8:59 p.m. at night, he would say, Randy, I gotta go. Tucker Carlson's gonna be on. But make no mistake, today, Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. He has chosen to take on the mantle of leader of a modern-day Hitler Youth, to broadcast and feature those who celebrate the Nazis, those who call for the extermination of Israel, to defend Hamas, to even criticize President Trump for stopping Iran's nuclear ambitions.
So again, interviewing somebody, and nobody watched the interview. I watched some of it, but I can't, But interviewing somebody doesn't mean that you align with everything they believe in. There is a such thing called entertainment. There is an aspect of this that's called entertainment. You still want to entertain. And Nick Fuentes is probably the most popular person under 30 on this quote unquote right side. So why would you not interview him? Patrick Bet-Davis interviewed him. He didn't get called anti-Semitic. Patrick Bet-Davis interviewed him. He did not get called anti-Semitic. So again, people, we have to see propaganda on both sides, on the left and also on the right. And that's what this is propaganda. If the success of your party hinges upon you having to silence 3 individuals, then your party is going to inevitably fall, because those 3 will be replaced. And then those 3 will be replaced. And it'll keep going on and on and on and on until you've gotten rid of everybody. Now what you have a society where there's no opposing opinions. That's how this works. You get rid of them, somebody else gonna pop up. And you're gonna keep on doing it to guess what? One day we'll wake up, it's only one narrative that people can agree with. That's it. I don't hate anybody. I love everybody. I want y'all to be blessed.